Good morning. Welcome to the Jonah and Sean Morning Show. I'm Jonah.
This is Jonah, and my name is Sean.
And
And today we're going to be going over some of the basic principles and what kind of the components of the American Dream. So originally, when the American Dream originated, basically in the turn of the 20th century, starting in kind of the 1920s, the American Dream was founded as a set of ideals such as like democracy, rights, opportunity, equality, liberty, freedom, and some major components of the American Dream were that you could work hard to achieve your success. You could work hard to get an education. Then you could get married and start a family, and then ultimately create a better life for your children to prosper into. And then, as the 21st century began approaching, the American Dream evolved more and more. The peak of the American Dream was becoming a small business owner and owning being a self-made business owner in American society. So opening your own little shop or starting your own service company. But then somewhere along the line, all these large corporations began taking over, buying out all these small businesses, and now these large corporations kind of control the American economy and American society. So today we're going to kind of go over some of the facts about how the typical person views how the American Dream has evolved throughout the past century.
And so today what we have is we actually have an article, and we're going to analyze this article called "The Downsizing of the American Dream." So we're just going to go. Yeah, Sean?
I mean, this is our channel, right? We can kind of do whatever we want. Let's make this fun.
That's true. Let's make this fun.
We want to do like a game? Let's do like
let's make
a true or false game. That seemed pretty fun. You guys can all chime in too. When we read the question, you guys can.
Yeah, you kind of guess.
Yeah. All right. So I guess you want me to start off first. I can ask you a question.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So, Jonah, there was a survey conducted by Fannie Mae, and they kind of gauge the consumer perception of the American Dream. So, Jonah, is this true or false? In Fannie Mae's survey, only 60% of the consumers that they polled said that they would buy a home if they were to move.
I think I'd have to say that's probably true.
That is true. It was an all-time survey low. 60% said that if they had to move, that they would actually buy a home. That they would not buy a home, excuse me.
Oh, they would not.
They would not buy a home if they were to move. So that, I think that kind of gets into
mortgage. Where would they be going if they're...
Well, it's not necessarily... It's buying. It's more like renting, leasing, bank loans, mortgages.
They just wouldn't be homeowners.
Yeah, because... Yeah. You don't want to go through all that mortgaging, having a bank own your house, paying back the bank. That's a big problem with the American Dream today. It's all the banks own everything. You have to pay them back. You're constantly getting loans.
And the economy is not as solid as it was in the past. So a lot of people are afraid of losing what they have. So their main priority is not putting money out there to make more money. It's just keeping what they have and being secure and living securely.
It's that's exactly right.
Because a lot of the opportunities to make it big have kind of faded away.
All right, Jonah, is this true or false?
All right.
Only according to the latest employment statistics, only 500,000 Americans claim that they have not looked for work in the previous month, and 30% of them believe that there are no jobs available.
I'm going to say that is false, because I feel like more Americans...
That is false. I
feel like more Americans would be looking for...
No, it's the complete opposite. 1.8 million Americans claim that they have not looked for work in the past month. And actually 35% believe that there are no jobs available.
Wow, okay.
And there are a couple other interesting statistics here that, 6.5 million people are still working part-time, but they want to be working more. Okay, so here we go, Jonah. In 2015, I'm just going to ask actually your opinion on this one.
Okay.
In 2015, only 28% of those surveyed by the Atlantic and Aspen Institute felt that a healthy marriage was an important part of their personal sense of the American Dream, and only 14% said that having children was important to the American Dream.
Well, I think the classic American Dream is, kind of getting that house, that job, that family, raising a family, and making your kids' lives better and making their kids' lives better.
Exactly.
And honestly, like I feel like that not having not looking for kids and not looking for like a spouse is also part of the whole security thing, because again, like kids are expensive and relationships cost money.
It's very surprising that only 20% believe that about their families, about having a family, and 40% believe that about children. Because when you date back to after the end of World War II, the huge economic boom of the 1940s and 50s, these wives, excuse me, the husbands, the soldiers were coming home from Europe fighting in World War II, and they were having up to 10 to 15 kids.
That's true.
There's a huge population boom that created all these human resources and actually contributed to the economy at that time. So it's very surprising that it's changed so much now.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's becoming more and more expensive to have a big family nowadays. So I guess that's not.
I mean, one, with the price of education just skyrocketing and the competition that has arrived. Like, it used to be that almost anyone who worked and could get money could afford to send their kid to college and a second level of education. And today, that's just not the case. And pretty much, if you have a job that you got and you weren't educated in college, chances are that the job you get won't pay for your kids to have a college education. So it's kind of on this cycle, and there's not really that chance for the poor to get as wealthy anymore.
We talk about the kind of like the economic recession of 2008 and how that really kind of hurt our economy. It's you read about how all these the middle class is what when we talk about the American dream and working hard, starting a family and having kids, we're talking about middle class. We're talking about starting a small business. We're talking about middle class citizens. And when you read about the economic recession of 2008, it says many of these middle class jobs were kind of just like they kind of just almost basically disappeared, and they still haven't come back.
Yeah.
Like all these jobs that are becoming available, they don't pay enough.
Yeah.
These jobs that are coming, they're just like these minimum wage jobs that college kids are just looking for to, just kind of hold off their loans and pay for their textbooks and their rents, their apartment rents. So it's really kind of a sad thing when you think about how the economic recession really had a big thing to do about the evolution.
Yeah, and I mean, like, those jobs have really faded away, and I think that a lot of that is actually just part of, like, the evolution of our country in general. Like, we've gone to all this, like, mass marketing that, like, for example, they'll have this huge warehouse. It takes up a huge piece of land, and there should be, like, this, like, business should have, like, lots of people working for them. Like, you'd think, hey, like, this is gonna draw business, is gonna make jobs, but they'll just have, like, one person, minimum wage, in their, and a lot of it's just machine operated.
And what you're talking about is like these sweatshops.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's almost like a lot of these minimum wage jobs you're talking about are not exactly safe work conditions.
Yeah.
People will take big risks going in there. They could come out with they can come out harmed with all these dangerous machines and unsafe working conditions they have to go through. But they have no choice.
Yeah, and I heard a story about a family that was killed in a car accident driving from a factory, and like they were factory workers who had kids. They didn't make a lot of money, but the thing is that like they had to work hard every day, and still like
that actually you talk about it being a whole family. I remember when you date back to our ancestors when these large families would immigrate over to the United States. During the 1800s and the 1900s, especially from Europe, a lot of these immigrants would not have a lot of money. They would come over here and they would kind of settle in these cities, in these ghettos, and then they would have to. Sometimes these kids would not even be allowed to attend school because they would have to work and provide for the family, get those pennies to come home and feed the family, buy the family bread. But
yeah, it's true.
And that kind of seems like very far away now. When you think about it, how far off are we exactly? There are high school. There are high school
we're
kids.
getting closer and closer.
There are
to
high school kids that stop playing the sports that they love. That some kids even drop out of high school because they need to.
Yeah.
Their parents get laid off because large corporations are taking over, buying out these small businesses that they work for.
And they hurt all this potential that they have by going and working at a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
And chances are that's what they're going to be doing for the remainder of their life if they don't get further education.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let me ask you a question.
All right.
What % of America now do you think truly believes that the American dream of old times, like what we've been talking about, family, hard work, all that stuff, what % of America do you think right now truly believes that still exists?
I gotta say, there's definitely.
Let me add something. And how do you think they feel about the future of America?
I don't know. I think I'd have to say that there's definitely some people that still believe, like hardcore, still believe in the American dream. So I don't know. I think maybe upwards or downwards. I don't know. Somewhere near like 40%. Well, I'd assume less than 50%.
Well, but roughly 20 years between 1986 and 2011, only 50% consistently voted that they believe that the American dream is still alive today.
Okay.
And then a lot of people actually think that's going to be a lot harder for future generations.
This is the path that we've been going on, like a downward path when it comes to the American dream, and I think it's going to be hard to change that course.
Well, and I mean, that's like the total. What has the American dream become then? If people are afraid for future generations, it's supposed to be about making the future generations greater and better and giving them better opportunities than you had. That's what keeps the American dream alive, and that's what keeps America, as one of the,
the best.
Yeah, as one of the best countries to live in the entire world. But I feel like a lot of the reason people believe that the American dream is kind of dead is because people are like, how the heck am I supposed to start a freaking family when I have all this debt to pay off from school, and I have to work, 60-hour work weeks, like some of these statistics are just freaking staggering. Like in 2015, Pew conducted a poll and they asked which I guess you call them I guess you call them the pollers, or I don't know what you want to call them, the people who took part in the survey.
I got you.
Which would they prefer, financial security or having the opportunity to move up the social ladder? You know how many people?
Definitely.
You know how many people chose
financial security?
92% chose financial security. That's ridiculous.
See, the dream is that you work and you move up.
Yeah, it's self-made success.
People when the dream was alive, it's like at its peak, like people were risking everything they had, and they were, a lot of them became very successful because of that.
Yeah,
and that idea of just like putting it out on the line is just not really there anymore.
And then you kind of talk about when you get into kind of like financial security and getting ahead, you're kind of talking about the different opportunities that are available to, kind of the different classes of society. And one of the that's true.
Yeah.
And when you talk about and one of the original, I guess, hopes for the American dream was that people would come to America because they felt that the American society would give America opportunities in America were not limited based on like class, social class, religion, race, ethnicity, things like that. One other thing that kind of depicts the evolution of the American dream, back in 1998, there was a Gallup poll that gauged how typical American citizens viewed American society and whether or not equal opportunity existed, and the division between upper class and middle class. And it says here that 68% thought that the economic system was fair.
Yeah.
And 29% thought that it was basically unfair, which means that the upper class had an easier road to the top. They didn't have to work as hard, and they were given more benefits from the government and all this, and job opportunities, things like that. However, in 2013, 15 years later, the kind of perception of that very dramatically shifted, and now 64% believe that the U.S. economy is set up as such that not everyone is receiving an equal opportunity to the top and to success. What are your kind of opinions on that? Based on, I guess you could talk about large corporations.
Yeah, I mean, I think here's the thing: is I think that like large corporations and those big businesses are kind of running America right now. And the thing is that if you really want to come to America now, like now the dream is like I feel like this is the new American dream. Like if you come to America with a lot of money and make something big, like then you can make it like all the way. But like honestly, like to come here with nothing and try and make it big, it's gonna be really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, because then that's when you talk about becoming, like a servant or something. Well, not a servant. Well, when I say servant, I mean like cleaning houses. Being something like a chauffeur or something.
Yeah.
And just like these minimum wage jobs that you're working in factories or warehouses, or you're working at a fast food place. Kind of form a broader picture of the American dream today. There's a poll that was conducted and concluded that only 26% of Americans today feel that owning a home was the most essential part to the American dream. While the modern influx of values such as financial security and becoming debt free were kind of taking over. 36% selected achieving financial security as the essential point to the American dream, and then 36% chose being debt free, and then even the general perception of the middle class has changed. 54% of people said that being middle class was not having to worry about paying off loans, taking on too much debt, and just like in general being able to keep up with expenses. Being able to pay off the expenses, the daily bills that you have with the money that you bring home, and having a little bit left over for essentials like clothes, food, and stuff like that. I think overall the American dream is not necessarily dead, but it's in serious trouble because
definitely.
Just how much it has evolved within the past century. No longer are people worried about starting their own business and just starting a family, having children, building a life that future generations can be proud of and grow into, and make even bigger is not actually, is obviously not very important to Americans today. It's more about how much money you have, like becoming debt free, achieving financial security, things like that. If you guys want to let us know in the comments what you think, your perception of the American dream today, how you feel it's changed over the past 100 or so years, and what you feel can be done to, revive the American dream and make America great again. So
yeah, let us know.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate you taking the time to
educate yourself on the American dream and listen to us blabber on about the American dream. So thank you.
Yeah.
Good day.